Oh boy. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning on the Don Lemon Show, on our Hot Topic show. And we certainly have a lot going on. If you can see there up on your screen now, we have 3 hearings for confirmations. We have Tulsi Gabbard, we have Kash Patel, and then this is day 2 of RFK Jr. And then on the bottom right, you see the very latest reporting from this tragic air crash midair coming out of Washington, D.C. I'm going to take my time. We're going to take our time and go through this. We want to say, and I want to say from the very beginning, this is horrific. Our hearts go out to all of those involved. Can't even imagine what the families are dealing with and the horrible moments of just horror and terror that must have played out in just moments for all the folks who were on board. Upwards of 70, possibly close to 80 people have died. At least we know more than 64, more than 68, because there were 64 people on the plane. There were 3 soldiers on that helicopter. And then we will see if there are others. But that's where we stand right now. So we do want to say, as we always say in these tragic situations, as we get ready for this, that we are sorry that this happened. This is awful. We have to do the news, and we've got to talk about what's going on around this. So while others are, possibly being a bit more restrained because of the mores of broadcast and, just the very structure of broadcast and cable and legacy media, there's a certain veneer or sheen or that you can't talk about things. It's too political now to be able to do this, and folks are already starting to do some of it, but you can't talk about it. But we are going to talk about it. And the whole point of showing you this, couple things, showing you what's happening on the screen here is because obviously it's a busy day. We're going to cover all of it, but because it is very, very important. This is the starkest, most awful indication and example of why these hearings are so important. Why the people Donald Trump appoints and puts in place are so important to this process. It is important for the American people to have the best, most qualified people heading these departments and agencies in our government, because you see the outcome. If there aren't the right structures in place, and that starts at the top, what could happen? The possibility of what could happen, and if there aren't the right people, what could play out in the emergency and the cleanup and the services that need to come after a tragedy like this happens. The Secretary of Aviation has been on the job for mere hours. The Secretary of Aviation is a former reality show personality. What the original reality show, The Real World, on MTV, and then was a Fox News contributor and host, and a lawmaker. But this is why these hearings are so important. We have a tragedy playing out as they are discussing the qualifications of the people who would be in charge of these agencies for the cleanup, or either to prevent something like this from even happening.
On DEI and the claims that you've made, are you saying this crash was somehow caused and the result of diversity hiring? And what evidence have you seen to support these claims?
It just could have been. We have a high standard. We've had a much higher standard than anybody else. And there are things where you have to go by brain power. You have to go by psychological quality. And psychological quality is a very important element of it. These are various very powerful tests that we put to use, and they were terminated by Biden. And Biden went by a standard that's the exact opposite. So we don't know, but we do know that you had two planes at the same level. You had a helicopter and a plane. That shouldn't have happened. And we'll see. We're going to look into that, and we're going to see. But certainly for an air traffic controller, we want the brightest, the smartest, the sharpest. We want somebody that's psychologically superior. And that's what we're going to have.
Issued an executive order you say will restore aviation safety.
Right.
This crash happened after that. Was the executive order successful, and what more needs to change to keep people safe?
Well, you know, we issued it 3 days ago, and we're in the process of making those changes. This is something that should have been done a long time ago. Actually, my original order should have never been changed, and I think maybe you wouldn't have had this problem. Maybe.
The cited FAA text that you read is real, but the implication that this policy is new or that it stems from efforts that began under President Biden or the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is demonstrably false. It's been on the FAA's
Who said
website.
That, you?
No, it's on the website, the FAA's website. It was there in 2013. It was there for the
Take
entirety.
a look what I read.
It was there for the entirety of your administration
Nice and
too.
easy.
So my question is, why didn't you change the policy during your first
I
administration?
did change it. I changed the Obama policy, and we had a very good policy. And then Biden came in, and he changed it. And then when I came in 3 days ago, I signed a new order, bringing it to the highest level of intelligence. Okay.
It was on the website.
Please. Quiet.
Today blamed the diversity elements, but then told us that you weren't sure that the controllers made any mistake. We then said perhaps the helicopter pilots were the ones who made the mistake.
It's all under investigation.
I understand that. That's why I'm trying to figure out how you can come to the conclusion right now that diversity had something to do with this crash.
Because I have common sense, okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people don't. We want brilliant people doing this. This is a major chess game at the highest level. When you have 60 planes coming in during a short period of time, and they're all coming in different directions, and you're dealing with very high-level computer work and very complex computers. And one of the other things I will tell you is that the systems that were built, I was going to rebuild the entire system, and then we had an election that didn't turn out the way it should have.
Even by Trump standards, this was outrageous. This is a new low, not only for Donald Trump and the administration, but for the country. I don't know how many other people he could have insulted. The best question was, why didn't you change it the first time? And then he blamed Barack Obama for it. Now, I understand that some of the networks, and if they did, great. Because I said to you, I asked you guys, and the poll said you wanted to. Because there were so many misstatements and lies there. You want to go through it? Let's talk about it. Now, this whole thing they're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, they don't even know what it is. As we have been stating all morning, you don't know. And you know, people who are fixated on that DEI lowers the standards thing, they are always like, what if, what if, what if? They don't even know. Let's first look at the optics. They're important. What did everyone who came up there on that stage look like? I'm just saying. And we know everyone up on that stage is not qualified. Do you feel me? They're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Then by their standards, the folks on that stage would be DEI hires, including Donald Trump. At the very head of it. Pete Hegseth would be next. Sean Duffy would be next, and then J.D. Vance, or J.D. Vance between the two. 4 white men up on the stage, up at the podium. Did start with a moment of silence. That was appropriate. But the lack of the natural instinct and ability to show compassion by reading from a script. He doesn't normally do that. Reading from the script, he's not good at this. He gave the news. We already know the news. He's not a reporter. We didn't need that. Look, I'm going to give you an assessment of this that you won't hear. He's bad at this. He says, over the years, we talked about investigations and all that or whatever. And then he says, and who knows what that means? I don't know, about investigations and getting into investigations and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Then he said he's hired an acting commissioner to the FAA, Christopher Richelieu, according to him. Then he goes into the blame game, blaming Obama for standards, saying that they want people of the highest intellect. Now, let me tell you something about what a lot of this says, right? Aptitude, intellect, psychological superiority. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? Basically saying that certain people in this country, certain demographics, are unqualified. Now, someone texted me saying, well, this is what they said about Aryans, right? That they were smarter than people. They were not only smarter, they were better looking. And that's looks. He cares about optics, aptitude, the highest intellect, the psychological superiority. He said regular people don't need regular people, he said. I'm paraphrasing here. And he talked about the politics. He blamed Obama and then he blamed Biden. Psychological superiority, what does that have to do with this situation? That's what he said. Kristen Thompson, you're right. Air traffic controllers are some of the most screened, highly competent people on the planet. Regular people, no. It should be talented, intellectual geniuses. Blamed it on DEI. Intellectual and psychological problems, according to him, that they were hiring. Basically, marginalizing and criticizing and minimizing the abilities and the intellect of people with disabilities. Anyone with a disability, I'm sure, is highly offended today, and Americans should be by it. Pete Buttigieg, who was a former transportation secretary, who by all accounts is very talented, very smart, and very competent, said he was a disaster, that he spoke a good line of bullshit. And then I have something here that says too white for something. I forget, but I wrote on my notes here. If you guys remember what he said. And then up comes Sean Duffy, who's a new guy who ummed and awed his way through a press conference this morning. And then talked about routine annual retraining. Oh, that was Pete Hegseth, standby. And then Sean Duffy saying that they were going to do, Sean Duffy was somewhat restrained, but then also, again, DEI, that comes up. And then Pete Hegseth comes up, who's the Secretary of Defense. He said that this was routine annual retraining. He was speaking directly to Trump and not the American people, saying, sir, we're going to do this. Sir, we're sorry. Sir. DEI is gone, he said, at the Department of Defense. Yo, this is some white America bullshit. White man America bullshit. That's what they're saying to you. Let's not beat around the bush. That's what they're saying. Those are the qualified people in his estimation, in their estimation. J.D. Vance, the vice president, saying everyone, it's a whole of government approach. It's such a line that everybody says, a whole of government approach. And then he says DEI, basically saying it was to blame for this, and that there were so many people who were qualified who had been turned away because if they were white. He's basically saying there's white racism, anti-white racism. They were turned away because of the color of their skin. Trump saying DEI could have been, he doesn't know. By any standard, and especially even the Donald Trump standard, this is the worst and most embarrassing that I have ever seen. Now, I don't know if MAGA is celebrating or if they're hanging their heads in shame. But all of the bodies, let's just be honest, are not even out of the water yet. Do you guys see what's going on here? You guys see the members of his cabinet, right? And he has the nerve to talk about qualifications when he is not even qualified. When anyone who is in a position like him with criminal charges would not even be allowed in many places to apply for certain jobs and to be the president of the United States. He's a DEI hire. Pete Hegseth, as I said, DEI hire, no qualifications to do this. JD Vance, a never Trumper initially, who compared him to the H-man, is now qualified. Okay. And then Sean Duffy. They're qualified? Someone who wants to be the head of the HHS that he's appointed, no medical degree, conspiracy theorist, not qualified? Or is qualified? All these people qualified? Tulsi Gabbard qualified? So here we are. This is a beginning. This is why I say, and we had all of the on top of the screen. Do we still have the quad box up? I'm not watching. If we can, put it up. That's why maybe the hearings, maybe they're on recess. I don't know, lunch. But that's why that's why those hearings in Washington, D.C. matter for times like these. And let's say that there are people of color, there are members of the LGBTQ community who are involved in this. They are going to be demonized, even if they are the most qualified and highest of professionals. Every single chance that they get to demonize and minimize the contributions of the many people who built this country and who are patriotic American citizens, they take it. When they don't even understand what DEI, what it does. If you show the actual people that diversity, equity, and inclusion help, it would be white women, number one, white male executives, number two. The people who benefit the least from DEI programs, Black Americans, African Americans in this country. Facts. Look it up. Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.